Welcome to Conversations with My Real Friends. I'm Jennifer Felten. I'm here with my friend Eric Spitz.
Hello, Jennifer.
So Eric owns a company called MyNHC, and what they do is natural hazard disclosure reports for real estate properties here in California and actually nationally.
Actually, outside California as well.
So we're going to talk about a national issue, which is flood.
Sure.
So how does a flood zone work? Who designates flood zones?
Yeah, that's through FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Okay.
And they designate flood zones. Every property is in a flood zone.
Right.
But if you're in an A or a V flood zone, with those designations, it's going to require flood insurance.
Right.
So not only are we doing the flood determinations in our report,
Yep. but
but also the lender is doing it if there's a loan on the property as well. You know, these have certain implications where preventing you from building on the property, all kinds of things, or whether you're going to have to carry flood insurance as well, which is an additional cost to it.
Right. But the flood lines don't necessarily follow property lines.
They
right?
don't.
So how do you manage a property that might have part of it in a flood zone?
Yeah, so we're getting updated by FEMA on a daily basis. And so the flood zones can change, and they change all the time. And we take a look at the parcel, the exact lines of that parcel.
Right.
And if that flood zone is touching that parcel, whether it be 1% or all the way up to 100%, we will then pull a flood cert from a third party as the final confirmation that it is that flood insurance is required. And that's our program. Now remember, this is only at the FEMA level, at the state level, right? At the national level.
Yep.
There's also geologists in your local county that have local flood zones as well.
Right.
That are different than the FEMA flood zones.
Yep.
And it's interesting because the lenders don't care about the local flood zones.
Right.
They only care about the FEMA and certificate determinations that way.
That's their baseline.
That's their baseline. But the local flood zones, if you're in a local, and we disclose this in the MyNHC report, but if you're in a local flood zone, the lender's not looking at that. Nobody cares about that. But if you are in a local one and you decide to add to your property, build on your property, remodel your property, and pulling permits for that, the city may not let you do that work.
Right.
If you're in a local flood zone. That's why it's really important to show not only the state level, but the local level as well.
And so from a seller standpoint, making sure you've disclosed any risk relative to flood to mitigate your risk later on of a disclosure issue.
And the seller may not even be aware that he's in it because he may have his property paid off. He may not even know he's in a flood zone.
Right.
That's why you're using an independent company, because you want that liability passed on to us. We do the work, you get the protection. You know, when you're selling your property, you want to make sure you're walking away from that at the close of escrow and not have a worry, a fear that someone's coming back later.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get one of your reports, how can they reach you?
They can go to our website, mynhd.com. My Natural Hazard Disclosure, mynhd.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining me,
Thanks,
Eric.
Jennifer.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Conversations with My Real Friends.